Okay, happy Friday. We are continuing section in section 5.3. I went ahead and skipped 5.2 because I wanted to be here for that lesson. I figured this section is very straightforward. You have probably seen this before, again, Algebra 1, but I wanted to go over this. Here we're going to add, subtract, and multiply polynomials. So go ahead and write down the title. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. This says subtract 5z squared minus z plus 3 from 4z squared plus 9z minus 12. So you're subtracting this from this, so it looks like this below. You're subtracting 5z squared minus z plus 3 from 4z squared plus 9z minus 12. So you want to make sure you read the problem correctly, because sometimes they say subtract from and it looks like this. Alright, so with subtraction you need to be careful because you need to distribute that negative. And when you distribute, you drop the parentheses. And make sure you distribute, because a lot of times if you don't distribute and you try to do this in your head, you will just subtract the first one and you forget to switch the signs to the last two. Okay, so again, make sure you drop the parentheses. And then all you do from here is you combine like terms. And you should be able, you should remember what like terms are from Algebra 1. Remember that in order for them to be alike, they have to have the same variable and the same exponent. And all you do is add or subtract the coefficient. Nothing happens to the exponent. So you get negative z squared, it's a z. Let me make this better. So negative z squared and 9z plus 1z, remember that's 1z, you get 10z, and negative 12, negative 3 would be negative 15. Okay, and that's it. It's very straightforward. Alright, let's have a couple more problems here. Again, I want you to find the sum, so you're going to add. It has it in two parentheses here because they want you to get used to functions, but you're pretty much just combining like terms. So again, t squared and 5t squared. Remember there's a 1 here, so you have 6t squared. Then you're going to combine negative 6t and negative 1t, which is negative 7t, and the plus 2 and the minus 8, which is negative 6. Okay, same thing with subtraction. Again, remember to distribute that negative. And when you distribute, you want to drop the parentheses, and because that's saying it's subtracting everything inside the second parentheses. So you got to make sure that you switch the signs. And now you combine like terms. So go ahead and do that. Make sure you have it from highest exponent to lowest. I'll give you a couple seconds. Okay, you should have had 8d cubed plus 13d squared plus 8d plus 1. Okay? Whoa. All right. So that was adding, subtracting. Now let's go to multiplication. Okay, so we have done FOIL before. I figured I can challenge you a little bit and do 3 binomials at a time, or not together, but you're going to multiply these two first by doing FOIL. Okay, so go ahead and do FOIL for those. We're going to do first times first, outer times outer, inner times inner, last times last, and you're going to multiply that, whatever you get here, you got to combine these like terms to your third binomial. So I get a squared minus 3a minus 10 times a plus 6. I like to use the box method. You can do distribute if you want to. You can keep going and distribute a to everything in this trinomial, and then 6 to everything in the trinomial. Just make sure you multiply everything in one parentheses in one polynomial with everything in the second one. I like to do box method because I make sure that you get you multiply everything with each other. So I'm going to put the trinomial across the top and the binomial on the bottom here, across the side, a plus 6. Make sure you carry the sign. This is very crooked, sorry. And then you just multiply like you would a multiplication chart. Remember those from elementary? You had multiplication. So you multiply a times a squared is a cubed. Negative 3a and a is negative 3a squared. Negative 10 and a is negative 10a. 6 and a squared is 6a squared. Negative 18a and negative 60. What I like about the box method also is, if you notice, diagonally they are like terms. So when we combine like terms, you get a cubed plus 3a squared minus 28a minus 60. Okay? All right, let's try a couple more. Here's again, trinomial with a binomial. So I like to do a box. And I'm going to go ahead and put the x plus 2 on the side. And then you go ahead and you're going to have a 3 by 2 box with 6 squares. Okay, fill it in. 3x squared times x. So I'm multiplying these guys right here. You get 3x cubed, negative x squared, negative 5x, 6x squared, negative 2x, and negative 10. And again, if you look diagonally, most likely they will be like terms. So I get 3x cubed plus 5x squared minus 7x minus 10. Okay? All right, and we also are going to multiply special products. Again, you should be familiar with this because when we did factoring, we actually went backwards from FOIL. So if you look at this problem right here, 3t plus 4, 3t minus 4, remember that when you multiply that, again, FOIL, first times first, 9t squared. When you multiply this, what happens is the middle cancels out. I'm going to curve my t so you know the difference between adding and subtracting. So the middle cancels out, which leaves you with 9t squared minus 16. You remember what this was? Remember what this was called? Difference of squares. Remember that? When we did factoring, we went backwards. We went from here, we went to the two factors. Okay, and then what about this one? What about b? What does that squared mean? It means you have two of them, right? You have two of these factors. So expand it so that you can see that better here, and then when you just FOIL. Well, this is another factoring technique. Remember what we called this here? What did we call this here? A binomial square. So when you FOIL a binomial square, you should get a perfect square trinomial. That's what we've been doing, right? Well, you could just go through the motions and multiply it anyway. What you're going to do is you're going to get 64x squared. The middle term will be 2 times the product of 8x times 3. It'll always be like this. A perfect square trinomial will always be 2 times the product of 8x and 3, these two. That's why we half and square, because when we half it, it's canceling out that 2 there. And then plus 9. So it's always the first one squared. 8x squared gives you the first term, and then 3 squared gives you the last term, and then the middle is 2 times those two multiplied. Okay, or you can just do FOIL, the same thing. You're going to end up with the same thing. So you get 64x squared. 8 times 3 is 24. Sorry, it's super late. It's like midnight right now. 24 times 2 would be negative 48x plus 9. Okay? Let me just double check real quick. Yes. Okay, that's right. Alright, so we've done all of this before. We actually went backwards. We factored this and we got these two binomials. Okay, so you should be familiar with that. Okay, why don't you go ahead and take about a minute and practice this. Write them down because obviously this is a video and I don't have time. The time will run out on the video, so go ahead and write it down. Okay, why don't you go ahead and practice that on your own and check with your partner, see if you guys are doing this right, and work on the worksheet that I left for you today, Friday. Remember, this is due at the end of the period. The worksheet's due at the end of the period. And I will see you on Tuesday. Have a good weekend. Bye. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.